It's actually finally an okay day here in Toronto. It's been like ridiculously cold the last like month. Honestly, it hasn't gone above like -10 Celsius in what it feels like a long time, like honestly a few weeks here. So I can actually sit outside here because it's finally above zero today, which is nice. Finally, some of the snow, at least on the roads, will start to melt. But for this video, I want to talk about something I guess that's been on my mind the last few months, and that is consistency. And I guess kind of like the dark side of consistency and like the hidden truths around consistency, because I think it's something that we see so much in the running community. Is how consistency is the most important thing. And I guess I want to start by saying that consistency is the reason that I qualified for the Boston Marathon. It's the reason that I ran an hour 18 half marathon. I ran a 35-minute 10K and a 17-minute 5K. And it's also the reason that I did things with running that I never thought possible. Like, genuinely, the last 5 years, since around 2020, I have been unbelievably consistent when it comes to running. Like, I have, averaged 6 or 7 days a week of running every single day for like 5 years, towing the line at almost 100K a week most of the time, probably anywhere from like 70K to 100K a week. And it's done great things for me. Like, it's really turned me into somebody who I believe has an understanding of running and how things work. And I think that I've gotten pretty good at it. But with that comes, I guess, kind of the dark side of consistency, and I guess kind of the hidden, not so great truths about consistency. I think, like so many people, when it comes to these like big, hobbies and stuff, especially as you get older in life, you're looking for an identity in some way. And for me, I guess from my mid to late 20s until now, when I'm 32, running became like my massive identity. It became who I like defined myself as from probably the age of like 25, 26 until now at 32. And when I started, I honestly, I wasn't bad at it. Like, I grew up, playing hockey and everything, and being fairly athletic as a kid, but I wasn't that great at distance running. And I remember, thinking things like, if I could ever run, a sub 3 hour marathon or a sub 20-minute 5K, like that'd be wild. And through consistency, I did do that. And, over the last 5 or 6 years, I think running has become my identity. It's become who I am. And, maybe about 8 months ago, motivation started to get pretty low, and I wasn't used to that. And I kept pushing, and I still to this day have been pushing through low motivation. But when running becomes so much of your identity for such a long time, and then all of a sudden the motivation for it kind of goes away, you kind of start to lose yourself a little bit. I guess you don't fully understand who you are. Obviously, life has changed a lot for me over the last, um, 5 years since I started running. I was with my then girlfriend, now wife, 5 years ago. But yeah, since then we've got married. We both work full-time jobs and we're raising kids. So obviously things have changed a lot. So priorities obviously change. And I guess with that being said, maybe that's kind of where the motivation starts to change a little bit. But when you lose motivation, like I've been, struggling with the last few months, you kind of don't really know who you are. And I feel like a lot of, especially millennials around my age have probably been feeling similar in many ways. Running was like this mask that I could hide behind. And, I wouldn't like prioritize a lot of things because it was like, oh, I can just run, literally just run from my problems. And, in a way, it was like giving me this a massive sense of satisfaction because I started off not being that great, and then I became pretty good. Like, my peak, I would say, was probably my half marathon or my full marathon. I ran 2:54 for a full marathon, I guess maybe about little bit over a year ago. And I remember thinking, like, this is awesome. Like, I'm just going to keep pushing this. This dopamine that it's giving me is amazing. But I guess with that comes a cost. Like, humans grow, humans change, and so as you mature, I guess. And I think my body and my mind started to realize that like only pursuing running um as your main like focus on what you're doing, like I was literally doing it every single day. um your body starts to kind of fight you on it a little bit, and I guess that's where motivation starts to get a little bit lower. And then you start to kind of think like, man, who am I guess. And I really do believe that a lot of people around my age kind of start to feel like this a lot. And again, I don't necessarily have a solution. other than I'm just trying to refine motivation and trying to refine my love for running. Not that I don't love it, because I do still love running and I love everything that running has given me. But I think one thing that I've been saying and I really want to start to shift my focus on is I really like content creating, whatever that might be. Like I like making videos and trying to pass on some wisdom that I have. I'm not saying that I'm amazing at it, or I'm not saying that I'm, by any means like an amazing runner, but I think I've learned a lot through running over the last couple of years, and consistency is a great thing. I don't want to say that it's not. You focus so much on ignoring everything except being extremely consistent with running. There can be some, I guess, more mental downsides to it, especially after years and years of doing it. Over the last few years, I've probably forced running streaks that I shouldn't have. I've probably run through injuries that, maybe I shouldn't have. And, overall, it does, I guess, make you a better runner, but it comes at a cost of your mind sometimes a little bit. And I think it's just one thing on YouTube and on social media. You see so much of consistency is everything, consistency is king, and it is important. And I feel like I really want to say that it's important to be consistent. But, yeah, I think as humans, to have one thing define us, it can be a lot. It can definitely be a lot. And I think that I myself, I have found myself kind of only identifying with running, and I don't know anything else about what I am or what I like. And I feel like that's just being like bluntly honest, and that's not necessarily. It's not a good thing actually at all, I don't think. And I think that the last few months I've been like trying to relearn a little bit of other things about myself that I like, and I really want to prioritize my wife and my family and doing what's best for them and not just focusing on running, because I think this is also a massive truth about running is extremely selfish to an extent. Like if you're willing, especially when you have like a family and everything, like this is me just being bluntly honest, like if you're willing to run 2 hours every single day, especially when you're already working full time and trying to spend time with them, that takes a toll on you mentally. It takes a toll on your family mentally, and it can be a lot to ask of them if you're just going to go for like a 2 hour long run, or an hour and a half daily run, in the morning or the evening when you could be spending time with them. That is, it's just a reality, and that's another kind of hidden dark truth about consistency. I think it's really important for me to say though, like I still love running, and what I'm trying to do right now is, I guess, find balance with it. I really want to get my motivation back to love running again. I've really been struggling with that, and it's funny because I never thought that that would be an issue for me, but it definitely has become that. And I also want to find a way to really incorporate it with YouTube, and I still don't know what that is. Like, to be honest, I really don't. I like trying to pass on wisdom, and I also like kind of the art of consistent, or not consistency, of content creating. Like I really like editing and having equipment to film and stuff like that. It's just something that I really enjoy and I always have. And that's something else that I'm learning that I really like outside of running is I guess just kind of creating art in a sense. And even this, what I'm doing, I guess, is that. So I want to keep doing that. I guess really it's like anything that you obsess over long term can take over your identity. And that happened to me, and I think it definitely can happen to a lot of people. And then you see it all the time when you get injured, when something happens where you can't run, you're lacking motivation. It's like you lose yourself and you lose like what you are describing as your identity. And I think that's where I'm like kind of trying to get at, is that trying to be so consistent in anything, not just running in life, it can become something that you only identify with. And that's like it's really, I've learned over the last few months, it's really not a great thing. It's really not. Like I feel like, to end this video and to end my ramblings here, consistency definitely built me, but as I'm getting older and maturing, I feel like it's really important to loosen my grip on that and to just like relieve myself of that a little bit. If I'm not feeling it one day, I'm not going to do it. And maybe when you're younger, you can do that. And maybe if you're like a professional athlete and that's like your only commitment, you can do that. But yeah, I think in a way, this video is almost a rambling of just being a 32-year-old millennial too, I think. But I don't know. I feel like I really want to find a way to incorporate content creating with my running, and I really want to find a way to, you know, I don't necessarily always need to strive for motivation, I guess, but hopefully build back my motivation a little bit. And just really, man, I want to find a way of tying this all together and really enjoying it again. And I also understand like life is in flux. It's gonna be, there's going to be good days, bad days, high motivation days, low motivation days, and that's okay. Even with this channel, I know I want it to be about, myself. And the biggest part about who I am is running. So I'm going to, probably lean into running still mostly. But I also have other things that I have a lot of interest in. And yeah, I just want to find a way to kind of create content around that. But yeah, with that being said, that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. And, or maybe, you can identify with me a little bit. And, it's not a struggle by any means that, I think people in my situation are going through, or maybe to an extent you can argue that it's a little bit of a struggle, but I think it's important to really, you know, step back and critique yourself. And I understand that consistency is vital. It's important for so many aspects of life, but I think it's also important to say that, you know, with that being said, that there can also be, downsides to that as well. And that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing. Life is finding a balance in all of it. And here I am at 32, learning learning that, I guess, and trying to prioritize what matters. And yeah, I feel like, trying to be as positive about things as I can, and that can be hard sometimes. But that's it. If you guys enjoyed, that's good, and check out my channel and where I try to go with it, I guess. Anyway, thank you for watching.